Namaste, my beloved friends. There are some people who enter your life through the mind, and there are some people who enter your life through the heart. Cancer belongs to the heart. Karka Rashi, the sign of emotion, compassion, nurturing, belonging, memory, sensitivity, and above all, love. Cancer may forget what you said. Cancer may forget what you did. But cancer rarely forgets how you made them feel. Because for cancer, life is not merely an experience of the mind. Life is an experience of the heart. And this is both the greatest blessing of cancer and sometimes its greatest suffering. Because the deeper you feel, the deeper you can love. But the deeper you love, the deeper you can become attached. And this is where the spiritual journey of cancer begins. To understand the difference between love and attachment. Love says, I love you. Attachment says, I need you. Love gives freedom. Attachment creates fear. Love expands. Attachment clings. Love trusts. Attachment worries. Love allows. Attachment controls. Therefore, for every Cancer native, one of the greatest lessons of life is this: learn to love deeply without becoming emotionally dependent. The teachings of Buddha repeatedly remind us that craving, clinging, and attachment lie at the root of human suffering. And perhaps no zodiac sign understands attachment more deeply than Cancer. Cancer becomes attached to people, relationships, memories, family, the past, the places, emotional expectations, and sometimes even to pain. Because Cancer remembers. The event may have ended 20 years ago, but the emotion may still be alive today. The person may have moved away, but Cancer is still having conversations with them in the mind. The relationship may have ended, but the heart is still waiting for closure. The house may have changed, the city may have changed, the entire life may have changed, but somewhere inside, Cancer is still carrying the old home, the old photograph, the old wound, the old promise, the old love. And therefore, Cancer must understand something very important. Not everything you love is meant to remain with you forever. Some people come to stay, some people come to teach, some people come to awaken, some people come to break something within you so that something deeper can be born. But when Cancer becomes emotionally attached, it finds it very difficult to let go. And this is where suffering begins. Because life is movement, but Cancer wants emotional security. Life says move, Cancer says let me hold on a little longer. Life says this chapter is over, Cancer says but I am not ready. Life says trust me, Cancer says but what if I lose everything? And yet eventually every Cancer native has to learn that real security does not come from another person. Real security does not come from a relationship. Real security does not come from a house. Real security does not come from money. Real security comes from within. And ultimately, real security comes from the divine. That is why Cancer is such a deeply spiritual sign. Cancer is the natural ruler of the fourth house, the house of the mother, the home, emotional security, inner peace, and the heart. Not merely the physical heart in the medical sense, but the inner emotional center from where love, belonging, compassion, forgiveness, and peace arises. The world may give you success, but the fourth house asks, are you peaceful? The world may give you recognition, but the fourth house asks, can you sleep peacefully at night? The world may give you money, but the fourth house asks, do you feel at home within yourself? And this is the deepest journey of Cancer, to come home. Not merely to a house, not merely to a family, not merely to another person, but to yourself, to your soul, to your Guru, to God. Because unless you are at home within yourself, no external home will be ever enough. This is why Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon is constantly changing. One day full, one day half, one day almost invisible, and yet the moon is always there, only its appearance changes. The Cancer mind can be like this: one day joyful, one day emotional, one day confident, one day withdrawn, one day wanting everybody around, the next day wanting complete silence. Sometimes even Cancer does not understand Cancer, because the moon represents the mind, emotions, memories, and the subconscious. And just as the ocean rises and falls with the pull of the moon, the emotional world of Cancer can also rise and fall. A small word can bring tremendous happiness. A small word can also create a deep wound. Others may forget the conversation in 10 minutes. Cancer may remember it for 10 years. That is why Cancer natives must be very careful about what they allow to enter their emotional world. Because Cancer absorbs the atmosphere of a room, the mood of another person, the pain of a loved one, the tension within a family. Sometimes Cancer carries emotions that do not even belong to them. And therefore, spiritual practice is not optional for Cancer. It is essential. Meditation is essential. Mantra chanting is essential. Silence is essential. Because when the water is disturbed, you cannot see your reflection. But when the water becomes still, everything becomes clear. The Cancer mind is like water. When disturbed by attachment, fear, insecurity, jealousy, emotional expectations, and memories, the mind becomes restless. But when purified through meditation, mantra chanting, prayer, and surrender, the same emotional depth becomes a doorway to higher consciousness. And this is the extraordinary potential of Cancer. The lower Cancer becomes emotionally dependent. The higher Cancer becomes compassionate. The lower Cancer becomes possessive. The higher Cancer becomes protective. The lower Cancer clings. The higher Cancer nurtures. The lower Cancer says, please don't leave me. The higher Cancer says, wherever you go, my blessings are with you. That is evolution. That is spiritual maturity. That is the movement from attachment to love, from possession to compassion, from expectation to acceptance, from emotional dependence to divine surrender. Cancer must understand that detachment does not mean you stop loving. This is one of the greatest misunderstandings. Detachment does not mean becoming cold. It does not mean becoming indifferent. It does not mean running away from relationships. Detachment means I love you, but I do not own you. I care for you, but my entire happiness does not depend upon you. I will do my best for you, but I surrender the final outcome to God. That is detachment. And ironically, only a detached person can truly love. Because attachment always carries fear, fear of losing, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of change. But love has no fear. Love simply flows like a river. And cancer has tremendous love within. The challenge is not learning how to love. Cancer already knows how to love. The challenge is learning how to love without drowning in love. Cancer is represented by the crab, and the crab carries its home with it. Wherever it goes, it carries its protection, its shell, its security. Cancer natives also develop emotional shells. From outside, they may appear strong, practical, reserved, sometimes even distant, but inside there is tremendous sensitivity. Sometimes one harsh sentence is enough to make cancer withdraw completely into its shell. And then cancer becomes silent. But cancer silence does not mean nothing is happening. Inside, an entire ocean may be moving. Thoughts, memories, questions, pain, expectations. Therefore, cancer must learn to express emotions consciously, not suppress them, not dramatize them, but understand them, observe them, meditate upon them. Because you are not your emotions. Emotions come, emotions go. Just like waves. And the tragedy is that many people spend their lives, their entire lives, becoming waves without discovering the ocean. Cancer must discover the ocean, the deeper consciousness beneath every changing emotion. And when that happens, cancer becomes incredibly powerful because a purified cancer heart can become a source of healing for hundreds and thousands of people. Cancer understands pain, and because cancer understands pain, cancer can understand people. Sometimes cancer does not need explanations. Cancer can simply feel. There is a motherly quality within cancer energy. Whether the native is a man or a woman, a desire to protect, to nourish, to feed, to comfort, to say, don't worry, I am here. And sometimes those four words are more healing than 1,000 philosophies. I am here. Main हूं ना. That is cancer. But cancer must remember something. You cannot keep saving everybody. You cannot keep carrying everybody. You cannot heal every wounded person who enters your life. Compassion without wisdom becomes exhaustion. Giving without boundaries becomes suffering, and love without awareness becomes attachment. Therefore, Cancer needs spiritual discipline because spirituality purifies emotion. When emotion is unconscious, it becomes attachment. When emotion is purified, it becomes devotion. And devotion is one of the highest expressions of Cancer. The same person who once cried because someone left may one day begin crying while remembering God. The same heart that once attached to people may one day become attached to the divine. The same emotional intensity that once created suffering may one day become bhakti, devotion. And when emotion becomes devotion, it begins to lift consciousness. This is the secret of Cancer. Your emotions are not your weakness. Your emotions are your raw spiritual material. They simply need purification through meditation, through mantra chanting, through remembrance of God, and through the blessings of the Guru. Because the mind alone cannot always free itself from attachment. Sometimes you understand intellectually that you should let go, but still the heart refuses. You know the relationship is over, but still you remember. You know the person has moved on, but still you wait. You know the past cannot return, but still you hold on. This is where Guru becomes important. Because the Guru does not merely give information, the Guru changes the direction of your attachment. The Guru slowly teaches you, do not cling to the temporary, remember the eternal. Do not surrender your peace to another human being, surrender yourself to God. Do not keep asking life, why did this person leave me? Ask instead, what was this experience trying to teach me? And slowly, the heart begins to heal. Because Cancer does not heal merely by forgetting. Cancer heals by finding a higher meaning. And within Cancer itself, we find three beautiful nakshatra energies, three stages of emotional evolution. Punarvasu brings the soul home. Pushya teaches the heart to nourish. And Ashlesha teaches the soul to release attachment. Together, these three nakshatras tell us the entire spiritual story of Cancer. Let us begin with Punarvasu. Only the fourth pada of Punarvasu falls in Cancer. And Punarvasu means the return of the light, the return of goodness, the return of hope, the return home. This is such a beautiful energy for Cancer because Cancer is always searching for home. But Punarvasu eventually discovers that home is not a place, home is a state of consciousness. Punarvasu has the ability to begin again. Life may break something, but Punarvasu rebuilds. A relationship may end, but hope returns. A door may close, but another door opens. Darkness comes, but light returns. that is Punarvasu. Therefore, Cancer natives influenced by Punarvasu often carry a beautiful quality of emotional renewal. They may suffer, they may fall, they may feel deeply wounded, but something within them says life is not over. There is always another sunrise. There is always another beginning. There is always a way back home. And the spiritual lesson of Punarvasu is very simple. No darkness is permanent. Return to your center. Return to your faith. Return to your Guru. Return to God. Then comes Pushya. Pushya Nakshatra, one of the most revered nakshatras. Pushya means nourishment, the ability to feed, to support, to protect, and to help something grow. And Pushya represents the most beautiful expression of Cancer. The mother who nourishes, the teacher who guides, the friend who supports, the person whose presence itself makes you feel safe. Pushya is connected with Brihaspati, the Guru principle, and therefore Pushya reminds Cancer that love must eventually become wisdom. It is not enough to protect someone. Sometimes you must also allow them to grow. It is not enough to keep someone close. Sometimes you must give them freedom. A mother holds the child's hand, but one day the mother has to let go. Otherwise, the child will never learn to walk. And this is the lesson Cancer must learn. Love protects, but true love also releases. Love supports, but true love does not imprison. When Pushya becomes spiritually evolved, the native becomes a source of nourishment for others. Not merely through food, but through words, presence, guidance, prayer, blessings, and compassion. Such people become emotional shelters in a very harsh world. And that is a beautiful gift. And then finally comes Ashlesha Nakshatra, perhaps the most psychologically intense part of Cancer. Ashlesha is connected with the serpent energy. It coils, it binds, it holds. And here we come face to face with Cancer's deepest karmic lesson: attachment, entanglement, emotional dependency, possessiveness, and fear of losing. Ashlesha can feel another person's emotions very deeply. And because it feels deeply, it can also become deeply entangled. And therefore, the spiritual journey of Ashlesha is not to stop feeling, it is to stop clinging. The serpent teaches transformation. The serpent shades its skin, and this is exactly what Ashlesha must learn. Shed, release, let go. You cannot enter the next chapter carrying every old emotional skin with you. Some memories have to be blessed and released. Some relationships have to be forgiven and released. Some expectations have to be understood and released. Some versions of yourself have to die so that a new consciousness can be born. And this is where consistent spiritual practice becomes especially important for Cancer natives influenced strongly by Ashlesha. The negative expression of Ashlesha does not have to remain negative forever. When Cancer natives consistently meditate, chant mantras, live consciously, and gradually purify their emotional world, the same intense Ashlesha energy begins to transform. Attachment becomes depth, possessiveness becomes protection, emotional dependency becomes emotional intelligence, suspicion becomes discernment, psychological complexity becomes profound understanding of human nature. The tendency to hold on becomes the strength to endure, and eventually the wisdom to release. The same sensitivity that once made them vulnerable to emotional entanglements can develop into extraordinary intuition. They begin to understand what people are feeling even before words are spoken. They become perspective, observant, spiritually sensitive, deeply intuitive, and capable of seeing beneath the surface of human behavior. This is the higher expression of Ashlesha. The serpent is no longer binding you. The serpent becomes wisdom. The poison becomes medicine. The emotional intensity becomes spiritual power. Such Cancer natives can then become excellent healers, counselors, spiritual guides, psychologists, teachers, or simply deeply compassionate human beings who understand the hidden pain of others. Then their presence can become magnetic, not because they are trying to control anyone, but because there is depth in their silence and awareness in their eyes. And when spiritual practice becomes consistent, Ashlesha also develops one of its greatest gift, the ability to transform itself. Just as the serpent sheds its old skin, the evolved Ashlesha native learns to shed old relationships, old wounds, old fears, old emotional patterns, and old identities. This is why daily mantra chanting can become such a powerful spiritual anchor. Om Ram Krishna Hari, Om Ram Krishna Hari, Om Ram Krishna Hari. Chant consistently this mantra with faith and surrender. And then this mantra gradually redirects the emotional mind away from unhealthy attachment and toward devotion. Om Ram Krishna Hari. Remember the mantra. And then Ashlesha no longer says, I cannot let you go. It begins to say, I bless you and I release you. It no longer uses emotional depth to bind. It uses emotional depth to heal. It no longer becomes trapped in memories. It transforms memories into wisdom. And this is when the negative qualities of Ashlesha begin to fade away and its higher qualities emerge. Intuition, discernment, psychological insight, healing ability, spiritual depth, emotional strength, and the extraordinary power of inner transformation. Therefore, Cancer natives should never fear Ashlesha energy. They should purify it because an unconscious Ashlesha can become entangled in attachment. But a spiritually awakened Ashlesha can become one of the deepest, most intuitive, transformative, and spiritually powerful energies of the Zodiac. So observe the beautiful journey. Punarvasu says, return to the light. Pushya says, nourish with love. Ashlesha says, release what you are clinging to. And that is Cancer. Return, love, release. Return to yourself. Love without possession. Release what is no longer meant for you. And then return again to the divine. For Cancer natives, I would strongly recommend one simple spiritual discipline. Every day, sit silently for a few minutes. Close your eyes. Observe your breath. Do not fight your emotions. Do not judge them. Simply watch. Let every emotion rise. Let every emotion fall. And remind yourself, this too will pass. And then begin chanting the mantra. Om Ram Krishna Hari. Om Ram Krishna Hari. Om Ram Krishna Hari. Chant this mantra daily 108 times. Let the mantra slowly enter the mind. Then let it enter the heart. Because Cancer does not need more thinking. Cancer needs purification of feeling. And when the heart becomes purified through mantra, meditation, Guru Bhakti and surrender, something extraordinary happens. Attachment slowly becomes devotion. Pain becomes compassion. Memory becomes wisdom. Loneliness becomes solitude. Sensitivity becomes intuition. Emotion becomes prayer. And love becomes liberation. And before I conclude, I want to share something very beautiful. Because when Cancer evolves spiritually, when emotions are purified through meditation, mantra chanting, surrender and devotion, the heart begins to express a very different kind of love. A love that does not calculate. A love that does not ask, what will I get in return? A love that simply overflows. And perhaps one of the most beautiful examples of such a love is found in this beautiful story of Mary Magdalene and Jesus. When Mary Magdalene came to see Jesus, she brought a bottle of a very costly perfume and she poured it on his feet. Judas immediately said, "This is not right. You should have prohibited her from doing it. This is not good. This is wasting. This much money could have fed the poor of the whole town for many days." Of course, your intellect will also agree with Judas. His argument was absolutely socialistic. He was a communist. He was speaking rightly and he knew more economics than Jesus. It is true. Why waste so costly perfume? The feet can be washed with water. There was no need to pour such a costly perfume on them. The perfume could have been sold and the money could have been used for the poor of the town to be fed. Perfectly true. The argument was right. But what did Jesus say? Jesus said, "The poor will always be with you, but I will not always be with you. You can feed the poor later on when I am gone, but I cannot stop her. You can see only the perfume. I see her heart. I cannot say no to her. In deep love, in deep overflowing, not finding a way to express, she has poured that perfume. I cannot say no to her." But Jesus' argument is not so strong as Judas' argument. Marx would agree with Judas. Mao would also agree with Judas. And I don't think anybody will agree with Jesus. Even Christians will feel a little embarrassed about the whole thing. It doesn't fit, doesn't look good, but I agree with Jesus. He understands the language of the heart, and cancer understands this language, perhaps more than any other sign. The world often understands the language of calculation. Cancer understands the language of feeling. The world asks, was it necessary? The heart asks, was it given with love? The world measures the perfume. Jesus saw the heart. And that is the higher Cancerian love. When Cancer loves from the highest level of consciousness, love is no longer merely emotional attachment. It becomes an offering. It becomes devotion. It becomes bhakti. Mary was not thinking about economics in that moment. She was not calculating the price of the perfume. She was not asking whether her gesture was practical, sensible, or socially acceptable. Her heart was overflowing. And when the heart truly overflows, sometimes there are no words. You simply want to give. You simply want to serve. You simply want to bow down. You simply want to express something for which language is too small. And this is the beauty hidden within every evolved Cancer heart. Cancer natives possess an extraordinary capacity to love, to care for someone when the whole world has forgotten them, to remember the smallest details, to stand beside someone during their most difficult moments, to forgive even after being hurt, and to give warmth in a world that can sometimes feel terribly cold. Never consider this sensitivity your weakness. My dear Cancer, it is your gift. The world desperately needs people who still know how to feel. People who can look beyond appearances. People who can sense the pain hidden behind a smile. People who can sit beside someone without offering advice and simply say, I'm here. मैं हूं ना. That is Cancer. But as you grow spiritually, allow your love to become larger. Let your love move beyond possession, beyond expectation, beyond fear. Let it become compassion. Let it become forgiveness. Let it become prayer. Let it become devotion. And ultimately, let all the love within your heart flow toward your Guru and toward the divine. Because when the Cancer heart finds the divine, something extraordinary happens. The emotions that once made you cry begin to make you pray. The sensitivity that once made you vulnerable begins to make you compassionate. The love that once searched desperately for another person begins to discover the presence of God everywhere. And then you realize something beautiful. You were never given such a deep heart merely to suffer. You were given such a deep heart so that one day you could experience a deeper love. A love beyond relationships, a love beyond expectations, a love beyond the ordinary mind. The love that Mary felt in the presence of Jesus, the love of a devotee for the Master, the love of the disciple for the Guru, the love in which nothing is demanded, nothing is calculated, nothing is measured. The heart simply says, whatever I have is yours. That is surrender. That is devotion. And that is the highest possibility of Cancer. So, my dear Cancer natives, never close your heart merely because somebody hurt you. Never become cold merely because somebody failed to understand your love. Never stop caring merely because somebody took your kindness for granted. Instead, become wiser, become stronger, become more conscious, purify your emotions through consistent meditation, purify your heart through consistent mantra chanting, and every day with love and devotion chant this special mantra just for you. Om Ram Krishna Hari, Om Ram Krishna Hari, Om Ram Krishna Hari. Let every repetition wash away a little fear, a little hurt, a little resentment, a little insecurity, until slowly only love remains. And one day, perhaps you will discover that the greatest purpose of your beautiful Cancerian heart was never merely to receive love, it was to become love, to become the person whose presence comforts, whose words heal, whose compassion forgives, whose prayers bless, and whose heart remains soft even after everything it has experienced. That is not weakness, that is tremendous spiritual strength. So, my dear Cancer, keep your heart open, keep your love alive, keep your compassion flowing, and whenever this world becomes too harsh for your sensitive heart, close your eyes, remember your Guru, remember the divine, and quietly chant Om Ram Krishna Hari, Om Ram Krishna Hari, Om Ram Krishna Hari. Because somewhere beyond all the noise of this world, there is a love that has never left you. There is a presence that has always been with you. And there is a home waiting within your own heart. Love to all Cancer men and women. If you are following me, if you have been with me watching my podcasts, then I know you will resonate with this beautiful sharing and understand the message. And so I pray to the Holy Lord that may your sensitivity become your strength, may your emotions become your devotion, may your compassion become your blessing to the world, and may your beautiful heart always remain filled with love. Because ultimately, Cancer, you are the heart of the entire zodiac. And the world needs your heart because your heart is beautiful. Jai Sri Ganesha. Jai Guru.
ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः।